Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nitai Go Premanande. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamta Parivajagacharya Ashtotraga Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Abhay Charna Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamta Parivajagacharya Ashtotraga Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Kori Vaishnav Vrind Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Takau Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrind Ki Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mathura Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Shimayapur Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Srila Prabhupada Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Srila Prabhupada Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guru Angana Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to this morning's Bhagavatam class. We're reading from Canto 3, Chapter 25, titled The Glories of Devotional Service. Text number 10. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Athapme deva sammoham apakshashtum tum arhasi yo vagraho aham mameti etasmin yojitastvaya athame deva sammoham apakrashtum tamarhasi yo vagraho aham mimeti etasmin yojitastvaya athame deva sammoham apakrashtum tamarhasi yo vagraho aham meti etasmin yojitastvaya Word for word translation. Atha, now, me, my, Deva, O Lord, Sammoham, delusion, apakrishtam, to dispel, Tvam, you, Arhasi, be pleased, Ya, which, Avagraha, misconception, Aham, my, Mama, mine, Iti, thus, Iti, thus, Etasmin, in this, Yojitaha, engaged, Tvaya, by you. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Abhay Chandra Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. Now be pleased, my Lord, to dispel my great delusion. Due to my feeling of false ego, I have been engaged by your Maya and have identified myself with the body and consequent bodily relations. Purport. The false ego of identifying one's body as oneself and claiming things possessed in relationship with this body is called Maya. In Bhagavad Gita 15 chapter, the Lord says, I am seating in everyone's heart, and from me come everyone's remembrance and forgetfulness. Devahuti has stated that false identification of the body with the self and attachment for possessions in relation to the body are also under the direction of the Lord. Does this mean that the Lord discriminates by engaging one in his devotional service and another in sense gratification? If that were true, it would be an incongruity on the part of the Supreme Lord, but that is not the actual fact. As soon as the living entity forgets his real constitutional position of eternal servitorship to the Lord and wants instead to enjoy himself by sense gratification, he is captured by Maya. This capture by Maya is the consciousness of false identification with the body and attachment for the possessions of the body. These are the activities of Maya, and since Maya is also an agent of the Lord, it is indirectly the action of the Lord. The Lord is merciful. If anyone wants to forget Him and enjoy this material world, He gives him full facility, not directly, but through the agency of His material potency. Therefore, since the material potency is the Lord's energy, indirectly it is the Lord who gives the facility to forget Him. Devahuti therefore said, my engagement in sense gratification was also due to you. Now kindly get me free from this entanglement. By the grace of the Lord, one is allowed to enjoy this material world. But when one is disgusted with material enjoyment and is frustrated, and when one sincerely surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Lord, then the Lord is so kind that He frees one from entanglement. Krishna says therefore in Bhagavad Gita, first of all surrender, then I will take charge of you and free you from all reactions of sinful activities. Sinful activities are those activities performed in forgetfulness of a relationship with the Lord. In this material world, activities for material enjoyment which are considered to be pious are also sinful. For example, one sometimes gives something in charity to a needy person with a view to getting back the money 4 times increased. Giving with the purpose of gaining something is called charity in the mode of passion. Everything done here is done in the mode of material nature, and therefore all activities but service to the Lord are sinful. Because of sinful activities, we become attracted by the illusion of material attachment and we think, I am this body. I think of the body as myself and of bodily possessions as mine. Devahuti requested Lord Kapila to free her from that entanglement of false identification and false possession. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanutute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatirubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Read the translation again. Canto 3, chapter 25, verse number 10. Now be pleased, my Lord, to dispel my great delusion. Due to my feeling of false ego, I have been engaged by a Maya and have identified myself with the body and consequent bodily relations. So this chapter is titled The Glories of Devotional Service. Just recently we completed the chapter that was titled Renunciation of Kardama Muni. And so far in this chapter, it's interesting, in the Bhagavatam, there's always a conversation within a conversation. Your personalities are overflowing with glorification of Krishna, there's so many conversations that are happening, and for us to associate with so many personalities in the Bhagavatam. So we'll see in this chapter the last few verses, and I believe we're coming to the end of the section wherein Devahuti is requesting Kardama. Lord Kapila, she's questioning him on what she believes or what she understands that will free her from this entanglement. It's quite interesting, in the Bhagavatam and in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you see devotees are actually first qualifying themselves. For example, if I were to put myself in a situation, if I have the Lord as my audience, I'll right away ask, Lord, please help me. But here you see Devahuti and also Arjuna first qualifying themselves. They first are stating that they are so unqualified, that they are deeply, they consider themselves to be deeply immersed in ignorance, and please help us. So they're putting themselves in a humble position, as opposed to, like, that it's me, I'll just, the Lord's here, please help me, just do something about it, rather than, but you see these personalities, the mood of these personalities, that they are considering themselves to be in a humble position. They put themselves in that position, and they are because of the genuine humility. So there are very interesting points in this purport, and interestingly, if you read the translation, Devahuti says, I've been engaged by your Maya, and I've identified myself with the body and consequent bodily relations. So she's saying, Lord, it's your Maya. Means, Lord, it is you. It's your energy that's put me into illusion. Now please free me from the entanglement. And in the purport, there's a verse from the 15th chapter. Sarvasya chaham ridisani vishto mataspritam jnanam apohanam cha. I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me come knowledge and forgetfulness. So Krishna is saying, everything comes from him. I'm the source of all material spiritual worlds, and everything emanates from me. So one may ask this question, why does Krishna allow Maya? Right? Why does Krishna allow this? Well, I was reading an article by Bhakti Tirtha Swami, and it says that Krishna and his devotees are calling us home, back to God. They're calling us to this eternal home where we belong to. And Maya offers us different varieties and the consequences. When we come into this world, we have to identify ourselves. There has to be some identification, and that identification is through this agency of false ego. So Maya offers us different varieties and also gives us different consequences. It's interesting how our mind works. A lot of times when we think of some experiences that we may have had some sense gratification with, the happiness that we derive from those experiences would be so fleeting. However, the mind doesn't tell us the other side of the story of how, for example, if I had an experience where I had an adrenaline push where, I went on some adventure, right? But not saying that what happened after that, how did I feel? What was my bodily situation like? How was I feeling after that? Did I really want to do it again? But Maya, material energy, it conditions the mind to always think of those fleeting experiences and makes us want to have those experiences again and again, completely disregarding what was some of the consequences of that. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verse number 5, Krishna describes what's called the Panchakrosha, the 5 sheaths of consciousness. So in our progressive march towards eternal life or towards, going to our spiritual identity, every living entity, there are these 5 sheaths of consciousness. And 5, you can say, layers of consciousness, 5 sheaths, but it's described as 5 sheaths of consciousness in the Gita. So the first layer is Annamaya. In that state of consciousness, you're seeing this entire world just through food. So for a child, all that matters, newborn child, all that matters is his or her mother's milk. And basically food becomes the mode of survival. So it's just a survival instinct. Then as you progress from that Annamaya, you come to Pranamaya, where you see other life forms, and life becomes, as we grow, and because of this conditioned nature, sense of competition. It's either me or you. We always get into that phase of seeing others as a threat to our existence, because we consider ourselves to be the center of, the universe. Moving on from that, we come to this stage that's called Manamaya, where we think, it's not only all about me, it's about, our mind, our relationships, our emotions, and we consider, ourselves to be, our sense enjoyment or whatever it is on a more subtle level. Moving on to that, we've had all these experiences in our life, but they have not given us much happiness. We come to the platform of Jnanamaya, where we start questioning, who am I? What's my existence? And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes, Vasudeva Sarvan Samahatma Durlabha. After many, many births, one comes to this realization of questioning, who am I? In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we also see Rupa Goswami, again, before he even starts questioning, his first question to Lord Chaitanya is, Ke Ami, who am I? Why are these miseries inflicted upon me? So when one starts questioning, that's when one comes to this human form of awareness or consciousness where one is asking questions. So at that point, one will ask, if one is intelligent enough or one has gained intelligence, one will say, let me put an end to this nonsense of life where there's something beyond what I can actually perceive. Let me change my life, let me change my position, let me change my consciousness to understand higher realities. And when one comes to that realization, one starts actually acting on the level of Brahman, which means activities of Brahman is acting in the consciousness of slowly coming to that awareness of the final stage, which is final state of consciousness, Anandamaya, where it is I'm identifying myself as an eternal servitor of the Lord and engaging in pure devotional service. So Maya will test us in many different ways. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Saraswati Thakur said, thankfully Maya is on the side of Krishna. So that's to our credit, that Maya is actually helping us. She's testing us. And when we're not ready, she's just showing us our unreadiness. So Maya shows us our weaknesses and where we need to work on. And a lot of times that's very painful because of our conditioned nature, we consider ourselves to be, as Krishna is omnipotent, omniscient, we also consider ourselves to be that. So we don't like to consider ourselves to be weak. But in reality, we are. Interestingly, the last verse of the Shikshashtakam, my Lord, even if you leave me broken-hearted, I'll always be serving you. And now, when one may read it, one may think, oh, let me just run away from the temple. What is this? I came here, I joined this program because God is love. I'm meant to be happy, and here I am. Even if you leave me broken-hearted, I'll still be, like some time ago, like I read an article in that, I believe it is Sachinandan Swami, Bhakti Tirtha Swami was saying, people would just see this person as someone totally dysfunctional in this world. Like, what is this? You're running after something where you're actually crying out to your worshipful Lord, please, even if you treat me broken-hearted, you'll still remain my worshipful Lord unconditionally. So, these personalities that we see in the Bhagavatam, there are examples such as these just to show us what's their level of determination. Right? We hear Queen Kunti saying, let these calamities come again and again. How many of us are walking, in our daily sojourn of life, Krishna, please send me calamities. Krishna, please send me situations where my false ego would be bruised. Please send me situations where I'll be forced to be humbled. Send me lessons for my purification. We don't. I mean, it's unless we truly understand how diseased we are, it'll be very hard for us to actually go into the inner recesses of the holy name. We see the story of Narada Muni. He's lost his mother. He's just, all that he knew was to just keep walking. And, he passes through many towns, and when he's engaged in that meditation, the Lord appears to him. And the moment he even tries to grasp the Lord, he hears a voice, now you'll never see me again. What does, this is just a 5-year-old boy who's lost his mother, completely helpless. And now he's meditating on the Supreme Lord, and the Lord just hears the voice, now you'll never see me again. You just imagine, what does that do? It just fuels his determination more and more, just to, take more or, get closer to the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. And then we also hear of the story of There are so many other stories, but then we hear the story of when Chitraketu is cursed by Mother Parvati. Even though it's unjust on his part, when she curses him, Chitraketu, instead of protesting or retaliating, he just, agrees that this is the plan of the Lord and this is actually meant for my purification. And Lord Shiva tells Parvati, this was totally unjust on your part. But he says these are the Vaishnavas, these are the devotees of the Lord who, in any state of life, they're always happy to serve the Lord. And then we see Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, even though he's been tormented by his father, today we consider, if in whatever situation we are, if we find ourselves to have some sort of inconveniences or our life to be, like we know, there are three kinds of miseries that are inflicted upon us. Miseries by other living entities, by other, humans, animals, or whatever. Miseries caused by our own mind, our own body, and then miseries caused by higher living entities, the demigods in form of natural disturbances. So somehow or the other, we're always tormented by these. And we could see in the life of Prahlad Maharaj, just a 5-year-old boy again, having to go through all these. And when he's asked by Nrsingadev, please ask me for a benediction, then there's a conversation that ensues, a chapter, very beautiful chapter in the 7th canto. And then, what does Prahlad Maharaj say? What does he fear the most? For someone who was actually being tormented by his father, by other of the yakshas, he's like, I fear material association. There's so many of us, we go to work, we engage with so many aspects of this world. How many of us are actually walking and understanding that, what I'm actually just about to step into could be detrimental to my Krishna consciousness? But that's Prahlad Maharaj there, setting an example, showing us. So there are these examples in the Bhagavatam. I was just, in this purport here, there was a discussion here about illusion and how, this concept of aham mameti, how we are trapped in illusion. And in the 8th canto, in the first chapter, verse number 9, Swayambhavu Manu is actually offering prayers to the Lord. And he says that the Lord has created this material world of animation. The word that's used there, the Sanskrit word equivalent to that, is chetayate. And he describes this, how wonderful is this world of animation, that right now we are walking around, we are performing our day-to-day functions. Right now, as I am, after this class, I'll be, engaged with whatever duties I have to do. But that is considered to be a stage of dreaming, waking dream. Later on, at night or at some point in the day, when I fall asleep, that is also dreaming. I'm actually dreaming. So my physical body is laid to rest, but my subconscious body is dreaming. And later on, at some point, that's scheduled, all of the jivas, when annihilation happens at the end of Brahma's night, all the living entities are compressed and wander back in the body of Mahavishnu. And there, so Prabhupada always says, here, if I'm awake, I'm dreaming, I'm mindlessly going about my duties. When I'm sleeping for a few hours, and then when we're all compressed again in the body of Mahavishnu, we're asleep for a whole night of Brahma. So we're always sleeping. Yet somehow or the other we think that we are awake. That's the beauty of this animated reality of the Lord. Interestingly, if we see in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, verse number 69, anyone know what that verse is? So what is night for the materialist is considered to be daytime for the introspective stage. So once I was hearing a seminar by Her Grace Devaki Mataji, and she was saying that how our Vaishnava culture is actually meant to help us, to purify us of these impurities. So she has said that this Vaishnava culture are like the two crutches. So we're in a disease condition, so this Vaishnava culture, Vaishnava Sadachar, is like the crutches on which we walk to, eventually to get rid of our disease condition, or whatever that's actually blocking us from walking or functioning in a natural state of loving and serving Krishna. So this Vaishnava culture is actually, in one sense, if to be seen by a materialist, is diametrically opposed to the mundane material culture. Everything that we see, in context of food, in context of culture, in context of behavior, in context of how we deal with others, because Vaishnava culture is centered on forgiveness and tolerance, and many more, but we never see in the Bhagavatam, at least with these personalities, Mother Devahuti, in Chitraketu, Ambarish Maharaj, they never retaliate back because they understand that this is all a plan of the Lord for me to purify my existence. Which echoes the verse in the Bhagavatam, in the 10th canto, which is Tattenu kampam sumikshamano. I'm just trying to load my database here. It's 10.14.8. So, some reason it just got. I don't know. It's taking a while to load. But in essence, Lord Brahma is saying, one when accepts. Yep, now it is here. Tattenu kampam sumikshamano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam ridvag vapurvir vidahan namaste jiveta yom mukti pade sudaya bhak. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. So, this is the example, the principle for us to follow. Like I said, it hurts and it's painful because we are in a disease condition. But we understand that what's on the other side is so glorious that even a little bit of, for us, we've gone through many lifetimes of living in this conditioned atmosphere. But for us to be given this one opportunity and make the best use of the opportunity gives us a life of eternal freedom, then that's worth it. There's a discussion here of false ego where Mother Devotee says, due to my feeling of false ego, I've been engaged by a Maya and have identified myself with the body and consequent bodily relations. So there's so much discussion of false ego, also the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Interestingly, I was reading an article recently wherein it talks about the Lord meeting the Prachetas. And what does the Lord tell them? I'm very happy to see cooperation amongst you all. And I'm just forgetting the last bit of it. So in a sense, Lord is telling him he's more pleased with their cooperation, more so even than their austerity that they've performed. So if you just consider that, right? We are willing to undergo so many physical austerities, put our body through so much pain and trouble and inconveniences. Yet, that very simple fact of cooperation, of subduing a false ego is more painful than that. So the Lord actually tells the prachetas, he congratulates them. I'm more pleased with your loving cooperation rather than your austerity that you've performed. So daily, if Krishna is very merciful to us, which he is, and if we are open to that reciprocation, then Krishna will allow us many opportunities for such purification daily, every minute. And how, like I said, in the Bhagavatam, our Vaishnava culture is centered on tolerance and forgiveness. And that helps us, because we should just ask ourselves, in whatever situation we may be in, just one question: is this going to matter to me at the time of death? Is this going to matter to me when, nothing else in this world would be of any assistance to me? There's a verse in the 8th chapter, I forget the verse number, Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate. Which number is it? All living entities are helplessly annihilated again and again. So interestingly, once I was hearing Ganashan Prabhu and Chaitanya Charan Prabhu also expanded on that verse, that we think of a life to be linear, which means if I'm at this position now, whatever status of life I'm at, whatever is happening with my life at the moment, if I just keep going that way, it'll be linear. That means whatever goals I have, I'll achieve it at this point, and then from there on. However, material world is, is completely cyclical. Everything goes in cycles. We see different seasons. It's summer now, soon it'll be fall and spring, and everything is cyclical. Just last week, there was a very unfortunate news on social media. A very senior Prabhupada disciple, Mataji, she lost her grandson who was just 24. And this grandson had done such amazing services in the movement, had traveled to many different countries, assisting different temples, different yatras. Such a life full of promise and hope. At the age of 24, he had a motorbike accident and it was such a bad accident that he was on life support for 24 or 48 hours. And then gradually the different organs just stopped functioning, and then he departed this world. So we see also in the Mahabharata, when Yudhishthira Maharaj when he responds to the Yaksha, what's the most amazing thing you see in this world? He said, every day there are living entities that are going through the cruel jaws of death, yet I feel that I'll live on eternally. So we all think our life is linear, but reality is that life is cyclical and anything can happen at any moment. So again, like I said, false ego means we are putting ourselves under false shelters. Our family, our country, our status, our possessions, because eventually, it's none of us can help us from this cycle of birth and death other than taking pure shelter of the holy name and the Lord feet of the Lord and the Vaishnavas. So now we hear these stories and we hear all this, but we obviously, like I said, find ourselves light years away from even such surrender or such dedication. There's a verse in the 2nd chapter, verse number 44 to 44. You want to know what that is? Bhogeshwarya Prashaktanam Taya Prata Chetasham Vivasatmika Buddhi Samadho Na Vidiyate. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotion and service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. I always remember this verse because once Ganashan Prabhu told, I think he was saying it in a class, he asked this question to Bhakti Rasamrita Swami that, what's wrong with me if I'm performing activities that are not directly breaking the 4 regulative principles? So obviously no meat eating, no intoxication, illicit sex, no gambling. So what is wrong with me doing anything that doesn't directly break these? So, we can put so many things in that bucket, but, let's say I'm just watching a movie, or if I'm just playing a sport, or whatever it is, but, these are not directly breaking these four regular principles. And the answer that Maharaj gave, to me, it's been a constant meditation and always serves me as a tool to discern how to go about my day-to-day activities. Maharaj said that we all have, because we are anu, we are minute, we all have a fixed amount of determination. And when we engage in these activities, we are actually drawing out from that determination. We are actually withdrawing from that determination. So what that does is that weakens. So if I have only, let's say, I start off my day or start off with 80% or whatever amount of determination I have. If I've taken off by performing these activities, my determination to perform bhakti or to perform acts of devotional service is actually much more weakened. And I've seen, these for myself and hearing from different devotees, if for some reasons they're having to attend to different things, which has delayed their chanting, delayed their daily sadhana. When they go back to their sadhana at the end of the day after all these activities, that determination or that intensity to perform sadhana is not there because it's been weakened by these other forces. So, very interesting, this verse ends with the resolute determination with devotional service to Supreme Lord does not take place. So, is our determination resolute? Is our determination strong enough? And, like I said, we see in the example in the Bhagavatam of these different personalities in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and in the life of our own, founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, that never was there a time that the determination dwindled. So we pray to the Lord to help us, even to have a drop of that determination, and even if we have a drop of that, how much more how much more greater or how much more relishable would our devotional service be? Because begin that verse in the 9th chapter, 9:2. Raja Vidya Rajaguyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam. Yep. So I'm just going to read that English. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. So when I'm, for myself, whenever, this is what bhakti in its full potential is meant to give us. If, obviously, being in the conditioned state, I'm not experiencing this, then that means that I need to scale up my determination. That's in my reach. And there are plenty of examples, plenty of examples here, plenty of examples in our day-to-day life of Vaishnavas who've lived this principle. So we should always humbly beg them, please help us even get a slight taste of of the love that you have for the Lord. So I'll end here if anyone has any question or comment. Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, good. So be pleased. If you see after this verse, she ends, this is her last question, and the next verse onwards the Lord will, actually not, this is the second last verse, and then the Lord will start speaking. So be pleased in the mood of, yes, the Lord is Namo Mahavadanya, He's the most compassionate of all living beings. So please take this compassion upon me and please help me. Please eradicate this. Like I said, she's putting herself in that position of requesting the Lord. So pleading to the Lord, please help me. So, a lot of times when we are requesting something from a superior or someone, whom we feel can help us. It's not that at times when we are just flattering them, but when it's coming from a genuine place in our heart, we genuinely want to please them. Right? Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya padakshintate darshina. That means, it's by this attitude of humble surrender and service, that we're actually trying to, that's what will endear the Lord to us. So she's speaking in that way, just to, because the Lord is already compassionate, but she's just calling on that feature of the Lord, please help me in this way. Okay. Right, I shall end here. Thanks again for your full attention. Shrimad Bhagavatam ki, the Gaur Premanande, Gaur Bhaktavinda ki.